short one more guy right now.
Here he comes.
Here he comes.
He's getting mic'd up.
Perfect. Well, while we're waiting on that, why don't we go ahead and we'll start with some introductions here. So I'm Eric Toenjes. Thank you guys for all sitting in today. I'm with Graybar, and I'm responsible for all of our wireless business and assembling kind of this team to address this issue. We've got Aaron. You want to just say a quick couple of words?
Sure. Good morning, everybody. I'm Aaron Geiger. I'm the Chief Technology Officer with Alberici Construction, based in St. Louis, Missouri.
Excellent. And Dean?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dean Fresonke. I'm Vice President of Partnerships for CTS, and we are headquartered in Marlborough, Massachusetts, but we're nationwide.
Excellent. Kevin?
Hi, everyone. Kevin Fernandes, Chief Revenue Officer for Dejero Labs. We're headquartered in Waterloo, Ontario, Canada.
Fantastic. So the topic we really want to talk about today kind of relates to this entire conference and what you've hopefully seen out on the trade show floor and some of the speakers, which is the adoption of technology and new technologies to improve productivity, safety, security, efficiency. How do we make gains in the amount of time spent doing things and adopting that technology? But there's kind of a missing link in that whole equation, and that is, how do we make sure that we have really reliable connectivity on that job site to really enable all of those things, and not just enable them at some point, but really get to more of a real-time environment so that we know when things change. And so I want to start with a couple of questions for the audience here. How many of you, by show of hands, have experienced difficulty with getting basic connectivity, whether it's internet, wireless, whatever it is, on the job site? See a bunch of hands going up, right? Everybody's being honest, is putting their hand up right now. This is definitely a challenge. And how many of you would also say then that lack of reliable connectivity affects your ability to adopt new technologies? Yeah, again, a lot of hands up there. So Aaron, I want to kind of turn to you on this, because what got Graybar involved in this in the first place really was the process you were going through with the Innovation and Technology Committee. Talk a little bit about what was going on there and what got you started with that committee.
Sure. So when TALK decided to form the Innovation and Technology Committee in 2019, when that group first formed, we talked about what are the biggest problems affecting us as an industry where the I&T committee could make a difference. And sort of relative to the hands that we just saw, job site connectivity was identified. You know, it's a pretty unique problem across the industry. And from 2019 to today, we've had vendor partners like all of you all sit into the meeting, hear the specific problems that we have, and I think it's a good example of where TALK can do a lot of good for its members. Because as you guys will hear, we're going to talk about a real pilot and a real job site where we're using this new solution. So new products have been developed specifically for the needs of our industry, which is pretty exciting.
Fantastic. So as the committee kind of went and approached this problem, I know you reached out to several entities within the industry. And what was that like? Why couldn't you get where you needed to go through that engagement?
Sure. So through the committee, we did talk to the big three carriers, and we spent a lot of time explaining, you know, the unique needs of construction, the size of construction as an industry, the opportunity. They were not interested. For whatever the reasons were, they just didn't really have interest in specifically solving the challenge. So that was our first iteration, was maybe the carriers can help. They didn't have interest in helping. So then we went to the vendor partner community and said, can you guys help? Right. That's where we started on this pilot.
Excellent, excellent. So let's talk a little bit about kind of a typical job site and why are there such challenges with this connectivity? You know, how long does it take, say, just to get internet onto the site? What are the things that keep wireless from working well on the site, those types of things?
So I think some of the things we've found, and these probably ring true for all of you, you know, a construction site is a unique, like, living, breathing thing that changes every day, right? So the glass, metal, concrete situation changes day to day, week to week, which makes connectivity hard to keep consistent. A lot of construction, just getting the connection to the site, right, takes a lot of time. So we need to have solutions for day one, because our folks need to use their technology, and then we need to have solutions for a long period of time. Some of our jobs run 4 to 5 years, so it's not a short in and out and move on to the next thing. Others in this room do things where folks hit 2 jobs in one day, and they need connectivity at both of those places. So it's a really complicated use case, I think.
Yeah.
It's not as easy to solve as folks would think.
Yeah. So I know we're not going to do a deep dive into the technology, and we've got a lot of things on display in our booth that people can come see if they want to really get into the technological side of this. But we obviously chose a pilot site, and Alberici was kind enough to bring up a site to let us really test technology in the site, work through a lot of the kinks and challenges and what have you. But talk a little bit about the pilot site that we chose so that people understand where
Sure.
we've tested this.
So Alberici was asked by one of our clients to add 6 stories on top of an existing 6-story building on a medical campus. That site happened to be in the middle of the city, where you would think connectivity would be easy to get. As it happened, connectivity, because of the site situation, et cetera, was not easy to get. And like a typical construction site, there are several hundred people from many different trade contractors, architects, owners, everyone visiting the site and needing, connectivity. So in that way, we tried to pick something that was pretty typical of kind of the average experience on most construction sites.
Okay, great. So I know as Graybar got involved and really started digging into this, part of the goal we had was we don't want to try to find a way to create new technology for the job site. It's really more a matter, let's take things that are tested and proven over the long haul and apply them in a new way and in new combinations in order to go solve these problems. So Dean, I know we came to CTS early on in the process. Talk a little bit about what that was like and what kind of technologies are at work here.
Right. Yeah. So when Eric came to us on this, it was kind of a wake-up call. We are a union contractor for communication systems inside buildings. So we're at the very end of the project. So we come in and we put the Wi-Fi network in for the owner. We put the cellular network in building, then we call it the DAS. We put that in for the owners, and then we get AT&T and Verizon and T-Mobile involved. And so it's at the very closing of the building, we're putting in the cellular network, we're putting in Wi-Fi. So it was a real wake-up call for us. We do that for, I think we're at 10,000 buildings we put wireless networks into at the end of the projects. And we do really big projects. We're putting 5G network into the LAX airport, Orlando Airport. We did 5 of the last 5 Super Bowl stadiums. So we do these big projects, but it's always at the end when everything's done, everything's closed in. So when Eric came to us and said, we need network connectivity at the day one, when it's potentially just bare dirt. And it was kind of an aha moment for us, because we had all the tools in our toolbox we needed to be able to do that. We had just never thought about bringing them into a construction site environment. Kind of the default for connectivity for our homes and our offices is Wi-Fi. And Wi-Fi is great, except it usually has to be wired together, and you have to hang, well, that's what we do at the end of the project. We can run the wires and hang the Wi-Fi access points, and everybody in the building's happy, but all of that's impossible during the construction phase. And the other unfortunate activity around Wi-Fi, or the limitation, is that it doesn't have a lot of power. It only goes hundreds of feet. And so just using Wi-Fi on a site doesn't really make sense. Maybe you got Wi-Fi at the construction trailer, but it only goes a few hundred feet. So what good is that? It doesn't get into the structure. So what's happened in the industry, and this is kind of really kind of symbiotic timing, is that the cellular industry has shrunk everything down so that now we can put cellular technology, 5G networks, and we can build them in a little box and make them private. So it becomes your private 5G network. So it's not AT&T's, Verizon's, T-Mobile's. It's your private network on your job site. And the equipment's relatively simple, and it can be assembled in a couple days. And now we can bathe the entire site, be it a tall high-rise or an expansive construction site, and we can bathe that in this private cellular network, which is really powerful. So to give you a sense, 0.25 watts is what a Wi-Fi device can do. We can put 30 watts, and I know those numbers don't make any difference, but think about it as light bulbs. How far does a 0.25 watt light bulb go? How far does a 30 watt light bulb go? It runs miles or go through layers of concrete. So these private cellular networks become this way to light up a building or light up a construction site in a whole new way that didn't even exist 2 years ago. So the technology has moved really fast. It's well proven now. It's deployed at hundreds of locations all over the country. We were doing it in open pit mines, in buildings, and stadiums. And to put it into a construction environment is it's kind of like the perfect coming together of this technology that's been developed and a need that has been identified.
So Dean, you kind of started to answer this already, but we're dealing with really, really large job sites a lot of time. The stakes are really high that this really needs to perform. Are we really talking about bleeding edge technology here, or are we have something that can be really reliable and proven?
Well, the nice thing about it, for the cellular industry, the AT&T, Verizon's, T-Mobiles of the world have bought a lot of this 4G and 5G gear, and the vendors that sell that to them, names that some of them are household like Nokia or Ericsson and other names are not so household, but there's been a tremendous amount of energy over the past 5 years by those manufacturers to build this highly rugged, really reliable equipment for the big operators. And they've taken that same gear, shrunk it down, and then we integrate that into a construction site that can really take a beating. So this gear is developed to last 10, 15 years out on the side of the road for an AT&T or a Verizon. We bring that same kind of technology, put it into a package that can last a year, 2 years, whatever it needs to be at the construction site. Then we can take it back down, package it, roll it to the next site, put it back up again.
Excellent. So, so that was a lot of conversation about bringing wireless across the whole job site, which is really important. But as we got into this, and I know, Aaron, we started out talking about wireless, but as we started talking to some of the committee members, and heck, we've had conversations here over the last couple of days with people, what I keep hearing is, yeah, wireless is great, and we definitely want to get there too, but it seems that just getting internet to the site is a real challenge. And I've typically heard 3 months, 6 months, or in your case of our pilot site, it's never being able to bring reliable internet to the site. So Kevin, this is where we brought in Dejero into the conversation. Is there a way for us to get connectivity day one?
Yeah, when I got the call from Eric and the team here, I was pleasantly surprised and also curious as to what challenges they had. And we've been doing that type of work at a level or a very critical level for the last 15 years, right? Whether it's with news broadcasters or DoD entities, as well as federal and state public safety. So my biggest question was, tell me what a job site looks like and how that relates. And to my surprise, it was very similar. You're rolling into an area that you may not have done a site survey for. Connectivity is questionable, even in a dense city where you think that should be easy. But we've put together a solution that basically harnesses all connectivity around to provide you an extremely reliable connection from day one. So a little case, bring it to the site, turn it on, and whether it's cellular, satellite, fixed broadband, we are blending it all together to make sure that it's highly reliable.
So we're not just relying, because I know a lot of people out there that have maybe used like a MiFi device or something like that from an individual carrier. How is this different from that?
Yeah, we joke sometimes and say that it's a MiFi on steroids, right? So we are making real-time decisions on where to send packets based on what connections can support that. A standard MiFi device will get, and as you guys know, will get heavily congested if it's relying on one single connection all the time. So this, what we've come up with is just a platform that allows you to throw everything and the kitchen sink at it.
Okay, so we're gonna throw AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, satellite, maybe Starlink, whatever.
Neo, Geos, it doesn't matter.
Throw it all out there, blend it all together, and make sure, so no matter where you're at, you've probably got one or more of those options that we can provide, right?
The most unique one I've seen is on the southern border when we were helping DHS out. They microwaved a link, an IP link, from one spot to another because they were able to then harness the cellular connectivity at, a kilometer away. So these are some of the things that we've been involved with, and it's very flexible.
Yeah. So I know the whole pilot experience has been a very interesting and eye-opening one for all of us who we got in there. And Aaron and then Dean, I want you to kind of talk about what kind of challenges did we face and ultimately overcome to really battle test this.
Yeah. So I remember when we talked, we all identified that Wi-Fi might not actually work that well in an active construction site. I think we all kind of predicted that. One factor none of us predicted was how unreliable power would be. So that's both job site conditions, and you think about, our workers in the field, I need to use something, I need to plug it in, here's an extension cord, I'm gonna unplug it and plug in and go. And that's a lot of what's happening, and that's the reality of a job site. Things need to get done. So the system had to be resilient enough that if we do lose power at one node, it still is reliable. So I think that was one real surprise that I had.
Yeah, it certainly was for me as well, and I know, Dean, for you as well, just keeping things powered up. So how did we address that?
Yeah, surprise is one word for it. So the original concept was we would use this private cellular, bathe the building, and then have these stands that would create Wi-Fi hotspots. And those could be carried around, and we have one in the corner there, a new generation one. But our first generation was just a stand with a Wi-Fi and plug into the wall. When that got unplugged, which happened daily, it would go down, and then the next Wi-Fi access point didn't work because it was counting on this one. So they kind of hopped from one to the other, and it just broke within days. So we re-engineered all of that, and then had each stand talk to the private cellular network directly. So they're all independent now. They don't care about each other. If one goes down, the other ones are still running. And then we added UPS so we can have 4 to 5 hours of battery life, and it's still functioning in case it gets unplugged. And it's smart now, so it reports back to our NOC operations center and tells us, hey, I just got unplugged. I got about 4 hours left. Let's see if we can get somebody over there to plug it back in. So that solved all of the kind of power problems. But the bigger picture turned out to be that Wi-Fi is still this 200-foot radius technology. And we've got the entire building bathed with private cellular. What about just putting the end user's devices right on the private cellular network? Well, it turns out that that's really, it's hard behind the scenes, but we solved that, and so it's really easy for the end user. So they can take any modern iPad and use the camera, snap a QR code, and then we load, everybody's seen SIMs, the little chip we get from our wireless operators. Now they have electronic SIMs, so you don't have actually the physical thing anymore. It just comes over the network, loads onto the iPad, and now that iPad or Samsung tablet or whatever you're using is directly on the private cellular network. So now we don't bother with the Wi-Fi, or we use Wi-Fi at certain hotspots to solve certain problems, but the private cellular connected directly to the end user device is a simple matter of taking the device, snapping a picture, hitting a couple prompts, and now that device on that job site is going to be live for the rest of the project. And so with this electronic SIM approach, we've eliminated, even though we've improved the Wi-Fi so they're reliable, we can even eliminate those on job sites with modern devices that are cellular compatible. And we're going to see much better adoption. And really right now, all of the devices being sold today, if they're cellular compatible, if they work on AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, buy one of those, but don't buy their service plan. Save your money and then we'll just load an electronic SIM in it, and that device will light up on the job site.
And
So-
can I jump in
please.
real quick? So one thing that's really key for construction that's maybe different than other industries, we have trade partners. We might have 30 different trade partners with 200 folks on our job site. It's not practical to say all 300 of you have to use AT&T, right? It's just not practical. They're all their own companies, they're operating, but it is practical to say, show up with any cellular-enabled device. You don't even have to have a data plan on it. Scan this QR code, and you have full access to Procore, Struction Site, Ignite, our whole system that we use to manage a job site. So that, to me, is part of the excitement of this, is we've developed something that really is reasonable and easy to deploy on a construction site.
So let's talk quickly. I know we don't have a ton of time left, but what are some of the impacts that you've seen at the job site from having the solution out there?
So a couple things. So Alberici self-performs a lot of work. So our own folks that are on the site have talked about, before this, if there was a change to a drawing, they might have to fire up a hotspot and try to connect and look at it, or they would go down the buck hoist to the job site office. That takes 15 minutes, and then it takes 15 more minutes to get back up.
Yeah.
Now, they literally get the notification in Procore, open, look at the drawing, and they're collaborating. The other thing we've seen is like our mechanical and electrical subcontractors that use 3D quite a lot. They have their BIM stations plugged in, and they have instant, powerful access to the model. So if there is a change, again, they don't have to go to a trailer to have a collaboration session on how are we going to address this issue. They do it right. That's their office. Their office is right there where the work is happening, and then they go do the work.
Yeah.
And to me, that's ultimately, this is about impact, right? The technology is cool, but this has had an impact on our job sites.
Yeah, well, that's really fantastic to see, and I'm sure as time goes forward, we're going to find new applications and new things we can do that we probably weren't able to do before, right?
Yep, exactly.
Excellent. So I know we're pretty much out of time here, but I want to thank all of you for your participation in this whole pilot activity. We've got a lot we can show you out in our booth. We're in booth 100, right next to Procore, and recognize that really for the first time ever, we've got a reliable way to bring internet and wireless across a job site and be able to do that from the very first day that you arrive on the site. And that really has the potential to be very groundbreaking and really help all of you with that digital transformation journey that I know I've heard plenty about, and everybody's trying to do it, but really enable it in real time and do that. So thank you, and come by and talk to us.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.